Alright, now we're 2 weeks into the season, so now it's time for my picks for week 3. And last week, oh boy, just like last year when I started off, I think it was 14-2 and collapsed to 7-9. Well, after going 12-4 in week 1, I collapsed once again to 7-9. And just like last year, the reason that happened was because there was so many games that I thought were gonna go a certain way were like so close they just went the other way. So it happened again. Hopefully that won't be the case this time. I'm sure my my overall went down to like 60-something%, which absolutely sucks. But now, of course, to my right, well, actually to my left, is the playoff bracket. As you can see, Broncos and Patriots have the top seeds. The Texans would host the Bengals, and the Steelers would go to the Ravens. In the NFC, the Vikings and Giants have the byes. It would be the Panthers going to the Buccaneers, and the Eagles going to the 49ers. So we have 8 undefeated teams left, and I think it was 8 winless teams left or something like that. And we know 2 undefeated teams are gonna play each other this week, so we know that's gonna go down to at least 6. So I can't wait to see what the results for that will be. But now for my picks for week 3. And then first up would be the Texans going to the Patriots. And for the Patriots fans, the Texans have never beaten the Patriots at Gillette Stadium before. They failed in 2006 and both times in 2012 in the Monday night game and the playoffs. So history is not looking good for them, especially since all those losses were blowouts. And no Brady still, of course. No Gronk, perhaps? I don't know. I had to look. I think he wasn't going to play yet. But no Jimmy Garoppolo either, who looked fantastic in these first 2 games. But the new QB, I can't remember his name. I looked at his stats for that game against the Dolphins. He was 6-9 for 92 yards. That's solid. It's not necessarily bad, so I don't know why anyone would be so concerned necessarily about it. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo looked so terrible in the preseason, both the last 2 seasons, yet did fantastic work in these 2 games he played. So I think the Patriots, with still all that offensive power around them without Brady and the Gronk, being at home, and the way the Texans' offense has been really, really terrible so much these first 2 weeks. Osweiler has been very disappointed, but then again, I'm not really surprised. I think the Patriots will win it 24-17. And after that, we get to the first Sunday at 1 p.m. games. And first up would be the Cardinals going to the Bills, which is the first time they did so since 2004. And of course, the Bills, remember I said like 2 weeks ago the Vikings trading a first-round pick for Sam Bradford was the dumbest thing so far this season? The Bills' defense, which is so terrible that the Bills decided to fire their offensive coordinator, that is officially the dumbest thing I've seen so far this year. And of course, that defense will get shredded by Carson Palmer and them. Oh boy, Tyrod Taylor, although he'll do probably good, it won't be good enough, and the Cardinals will win 31-10. And I'll show the Bills' stupidity once again. Why fire the offensive coordinator when your defense is terrible? Fucking ridiculous. Then it's the matchup between 2 divisional winners last year, the Vikings going to the Panthers. Now the Vikings don't have Bridgewater. Now they don't have AP. And although their defense has been playing very, very good so far this year, they played against a pretty shitty offensive Titans team, and they posted the Packers, who also have offensive trouble so far these first 2 weeks. So it's not really like that big of a win. And the Panthers, we saw that offensive shootout they had against the 49ers, and that defense is still playing very good, although they allowed the 49ers to get that much points. And with all those injuries and shit, the Panthers, I think, will win 27-10. Alright, so that's 6 teams I already predict. No, actually 2 teams left, to lose their first game. The next up would be the Bengals hosting the Broncos. This is the 3rd straight year in a row they played against each other. Remember, last 2 were Monday nights. Bengals destroyed them in 2014, and then the Broncos just beat them in overtime last year. And guess what? Bengals are at home. They're definitely a lot better than I thought they were going to be so far. And the Broncos, their defense is playing spectacular still, and their offense is still doing solid. It's not good, but as long as they're not doing turnovers, they'll win. But guess what? Now they're going up against a real defense at their place with a good offense behind it too. And guess what? That will lead to the Bengals winning 26-14. And I guarantee you, one of those touchdowns will probably come from either a fumble or an interception. So now we would be only down to 5 undefeated teams left. So now up another division matchup. The Lions going to the Packers. So congratulations to the Lions to finally get their first win there last year since 1991. But that's not going to happen this year. I mean, Matthew Stafford, after that very good game against that terrible Colts secondary, he was pretty horrible against the Titans. And I'm sure against the Packers, who are making their home debut, I'm sure the Packers offense will still struggle against that good Lions front four. But the Lions are still not really good at the Packers, and the Packers will probably finally get offensive going and will win 32-16. Then the Ravens at Jaguars, the first time since 2011, and I looked it up. The Ravens have not beaten the Jaguars at their place since November 25th, 2001, so it's been almost 15 years. So, although the Jaguars have been quite disappointing so far, although they did have that very good game against the Packers. And the Ravens, they're 2-0, yeah, for the first time since 2009, but that was a very close game against a not really good Bills team, and they had to do that 25 unanswered point comeback against the Browns, and the only reason they won that game is thanks to the Browns' misfortunes on offense, because the Ravens, particularly Flacco, was not very good at all in that game. I think it's going to really come back to bite them this time, and I think the Jaguars will want revenge, not revenge, but finally want to get that monkey off their back and finally win their first game, and I think they will. They'll probably get a big lead, and the Ravens will try and rally comeback, but I think it won't be enough this time, and the Jaguars will win 24-22. Then it's the Browns at Dolphins. The Dolphins are not only going to make their home debut, but they're going to make their home debut in an updated, that's right, it was now called Hard Rock Stadium or something like that. And good luck into the stadium since the cops are refusing to give you a police escort because they're a bunch of pussies about Colin Kaepernick's protest. Dolphins are actually playing pretty solid these first 2 weeks at two very good teams, the Seahawks and Patriots. And the Browns, they're dog shit. They blew that 20-point lead against the Ravens, a team they should have easily beaten, but no, they couldn't do that. And now they're on their third-string quarterback, and the rest of the team. And I found out their first-round pick, Coleman, that wide receiver, he's going to be out for the next 6 weeks with a broken hand. Oh boy, doesn't look good all for them. And of course, the Dolphins want to get their first win, and they're making their home debut this year. They're going to win 24-6. And now, of course, the Redskins at the Giants. And thank God the Redskins were smart to not re-sign Cousins to a long-term deal, because he's been struggling so far this season, as I predicted, because I thought last year was a fluke. And of course, they got to go to the Giants now, who are finally starting to win games that they didn't do last year. Those games, if they played last year, they would have lost them. They wouldn't have beaten the Cowboys or the Saints like they lost the Cowboys and Falcons last year. That defense is doing very fucking good. Offense, well, they did a somewhat good job against the Cowboys, but not really good at all against the Saints. Which is pretty bad. It's still because the Saints' defense is so terrible. But now they're going up against a terrible, I wouldn't say terrible, but very not good Redskins team, and they will win 31-7. Now we get to a rematch from last year, the Raiders at Titans. And the Raiders have been quite disappointing so far this year. Yeah, they had that great comeback against the Saints, but that was pretty bad, losing to a not really that good Falcons team. So that was very bad. And the Titans, they played really good against the Vikings until the second half collapsed, and then they did fought hard to win that game against the Lions. And remember, the Titans, when they were not really so good last year, near with the Raiders, they almost beat the Raiders last year until the Raiders did a comeback. Because I remember I actually saw that winning touchdown throw, but I think that won't be enough this time. I think the Titans will win 27-24. That's it for the 1 p.m. games. Now we get to the 4 p.m. games, and we get to an old... Well, actually, it was a very brief NFC West rivalry. Remember that? Oh, man, I missed this rivalry so much. I wish it was back. The 49ers going to the Seahawks. Oh, boy, the 49ers went to shit so soon after that. And the way the Seahawks offense has been playing. Oh, God, they're looking like they're on the verge of being that shitty, too. No offense, only one offensive touchdown these last 2 games. Oh, jeez. That's not good at all. But they're at home, and the 49ers are still fucking dog shit. And even if they don't score a offensive touchdown, I think their defense, which is playing fantastic, probably even better than the last bunch of years, I think that will win it for them 20-17. Then it's the Rams going to the Buccaneers for like the third time in these last like 6 years. They've been quite familiar to each other. But the Rams offense still has yet to score 1 touchdown. That's terrible. And the Buccaneers, Jameis Winston, oh my God. Talk about a difference from week 1 where he had that incredible game against that terrible Falcons secondary. And then he met a real secondary with the Cardinals, and he shit the bed. I think it was like 4 interceptions. Now he has 5 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. That was a horrible performance. But now he's going up against a Rams defense that does not have a pretty good secondary. And that shitty offense the Rams have, that's not going to do any favors for them. So the Buccaneers will win 24-7, and hopefully Winston will have a comeback game. Then it's the Chargers going to the Colts the first time since 2010. Gee, I bet the Chargers wish they had Peyton on the team, since every time they always played the Colts with Peyton on the team, especially at their place, they usually did pretty well against them. But now they're going up against Andrew Luck this time. And both teams have been playing, well, not the Colts defense, but their offense is playing pretty well, except against the Broncos last week. The Chargers, I mean, Phillip Rivers is doing very good so far this year, and I think this is going to be an offensive shootout, but the Colts being at home, I think they will finally get their first win, 38-31. And then it's the Jets at the Chiefs. Oh boy, Jets do not look as good as they did last year. I mean, they had that very good defensive performance against the Bengals in week 1, but they blew it. And they did have that good offensive performance against the Bills, although they did allow them to get 31 points. That's definitely not good. The Chiefs, that's an incredible comeback against the Chargers. They finally got lost to the Texans after they crushed them twice last year. That's not pretty good. But the Chiefs at home, and I trust their team more than the Jets. I think they'll win 28-27 and probably will have to do another comeback themselves like they did against the Chargers. Then it's the Battle of Pennsylvania. The Steelers at Eagles, first time since 2008. And may I also add, when the Steelers were at the Eagles back in 2008, not only was that in week 3, it was also at 4. So it's the exact same time on the exact same week. How incredible. But although the Eagles won that defensive holdout last time, oh, no. That's not going to be the case. Antonio Brown's going to light up that horrible Eagles secondary. And Carson Wentz, after having those 2 incredible games, will finally meet a real good defense. He might shred that terrible secondary, but that front 4, oh no, he won't stand a chance against the Steelers. And Steelers will win 30-13. And then we get to Sunday night. The Bears going to the Cowboys. I'll never get why they did this for Sunday night. I never will get it. The Bears are dog shit as they're showing so far this year. The Eagles, the Cowboys aren't dog shit, but that 4-12 record was their worst since 1989. And that offense was not really good all last year, so I don't know at all why they did this. Oh, I know why. Dallas, Chicago. Big media markets and huge fan bases. But anyways, as we saw, Bears are terrible, and they have no Jake Cutler, which doesn't seem to really matter because he's dog shit too. So who knows? Maybe Brian Hoyer starting, maybe, or whoever might be even a little bit of an upgrade. Just like I think Dak Prescott's still an upgrade over Romo. And the Cowboys will shred and eat up the Bears tonight and that night, and will win 35-6. And then when we get to Monday night, the Falcons at Saints, which is the rematch from 10 years ago when the Saints reopened in the Superdome. It's going to be an offensive shootout. Matt Ryan's playing much better than I thought he was going to do. Last year, he was so terrible, I thought that was going to be the norm for the rest of his career. But so far, 5 touchdowns and I think just 1 pick. He's doing a lot better, but Devontae Freeman, not doing good at all. And that defense, particularly that secondary, that's not good at all. The Saints, of course, have Breeze, and that offense is still potent as shit. But, I mean, that defense these last 2 weeks have been very inconsistent. You allow the Raiders to do that massive comeback against you, and then the next week you held the Giants' offense to just 16 points, and you could have won the game if you didn't have a fuck up like that at the end. Oh boy, I can't decide what's more likely to happen. We all know exactly what's going to happen. That Saints defense is still shitty, and last week was probably just a fluke. And I think this will be an offensive shootout, but the Saints being at home, they will win 41-35, maybe even go into overtime. Those are my picks, and according to my picks, we should only have the Giants, Patriots, and Steelers undefeated still, if I'm correct. So that's only 3 undefeated teams after starting off with 8. I think there was like 7 winless teams. I think that cut down to like half maybe or something like that. So we'll see how my predictions in week 3 will go. Hopefully it won't be like week 3 last year where I went from 7-9 to 4-12, just like last year. Hopefully I won't have so many games that go like right down to the wire and just flip the other way. So remember to leave your thoughts in the comments, and if you're not gonna be particularly nice about like most of the hardcore fans I've dealt with last year in my playoff picks, if you're gonna act like them, remember, suck my dick and die, and I can't wait for week 3 tonight. Can't wait to see Texans at Patriots.